with the current and suggested pizza changes, it will hurt Royal Caribbean in the long run. Well, I think I pretty much know which way you're leaning in that discussion. Here's what I will say. Um, Richard Fain, who was the CEO of Royal Caribbean Group before Jason Liberty, didn't have to pay back 20 some odd billion with a B dollars in loans. So Jason Liberty is sitting in a little bit different situation than previous executives in his situation. And by the way, you got to pay those back. And by the way, it ain't cheap with some of those loans they took out during the pandemic. I know you're all saying, "Oh, boohoo, cry me a river," right? Listen, at the end of the day, if you don't do that, the company's going to go bankrupt, right? And nobody wants to see that. As a fan, you want to go on your cruise vacations that you've been promised, looking forward to. So let's not forget that fact. And in order to pay back billions of dollars in loans and restart your business, this isn't like, Disney World that shut down for like 3 months and was like, oh, big deal. The airlines who never shut down, right? They had to go from not only zero revenue, billions of dollars in losses to making money again. It's not an easy task, no matter what company it is. And unlike Disney, Royal Caribbean has to contend with that. This is the realities of business. So there's that, okay? But as fans, we don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. I want my pizza for free. I want twice a day room service. I want 80 lobsters for dinner. I get it. I think that there's the short term, which is the paying back the loans, things I've been talking about, and there's the long term. In the short term, I think actually Mr. Liberty in his position is probably best suited to help the company move forward. And we've seen that already with Q2 here. When Royal Caribbean posted its earnings, they made the most money between Carnival and Norwegian. Royal Caribbean hit it out of the ballpark. He did a great job with that. But of course, there's the long-term issues, right? Because I'd be the first to admit, do I think that after Royal Caribbean pays back its $20 billion in loans, whatever it is, they're going to bring back twice a day room service? No, I don't think that's going to be the case at all. You got to take the good with the bad. For right now, the core, for me, and I've said this in other videos, the core experience has not been impacted. It's been some of the peripheral stuff that has kind of been eaten away at. So we'll see. The pizza thing, as I mentioned, has not actually changed. So you can't hold pizza against anybody until something actually changes. They're allowed to ask people their opinions on things. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's actually a good thing. I would much rather have a company asking my opinion than not, for what it's worth. But it's a very loaded question, Jason. Actually, I could talk about this for much longer, but we got to answer more questions here. So it's a good topic, and I know this will come up. We will do this a number of times, I'm sure. Any updates on Sorrento's changing? As for the Sorrento's changing, many of you guys are charging rather. And many of you probably saw this at RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. We first reported it last week, talking about this change that was in a survey. And essentially, here's what's happened. There's no updates because it's just a survey. I think a lot of people jumped off what's the metaphor? Jumped off the handrails, jumped off they went a little too far with where those go. Listen, I don't want Sorrento's to be charged at all. I don't want them to charge for Sorrento's pizza. Let me be perfectly clear on this. And I would not be happy about that. I will say it's a survey question. They put out survey questions for ship names they never use. They put out survey questions for plenty of things that never happened. Now, if you look at it, the big picture, say, Matt, yeah, everything you're saying is right, but look at what they've been doing in terms of changes and cuts and, this pattern, if you will, especially over the last, 8 to 12 months, right? This is, indicative of what they've been doing. Thus, it seems like it's reasonable they would start charging for pizza at Sorrento's. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I'm not saying I know more than you do, but I'm not going to get I can't use that metaphor. I'm not going to get upset about it until something actually gets changed. A policy actually gets changed and they make this. Until that point, listen, I'm happy to share my thoughts as a customer and a consumer about things I think they should or should not do. But that's just me. I mean, my thought is there's other things to get up in arms about in life in general. I'm not wasting my energy on a survey question. I don't like the direction of it. And I hope that certainly they heard loud and clear from a lot of people their thoughts as well. With all the Caribbean cruises that you've done, have you ever been affected by hurricanes or tropical storms? Actually, Daniel, last year, thank you for the super chat. Last year was on Allure of the Seas, and we actually like we timed it absolutely perfectly. I left Fort Lauderdale, and there was a hurricane that we basically got her out before hurricane came into Florida, and we were able to then come back, and we had no impact by it. But I've been on cruises in which the itinerary has changed because of a hurricane. Listen, number one, you're on a cruise this Sunday. You're not gonna have a problem. There's nothing in the Atlantic even remotely close that's gonna impact you over the next 7 days. Hurricanes are slow and they take a long time to form. And they'll just pop up like poof, there's a hurricane. They form off the coast of Africa. They slowly make their way across the Atlantic. They'll hit somewhere the Leeward Islands, like some of the Saint Somewheres, Puerto Rico. Like there's so much warning that it takes quite a while for it to actually get to where cruise ships have to go. And certainly for your cruise on Sunday, and I can't promise you anything, but I think you're pretty much safe as anything, quite frankly. So again, if there's an issue, they'll reroute you. You're not going through the storm by any means. The CEO posts on Facebook there's a problem with overcrowding the Diamond Lounge and asked what rollers should do about it. What do you think the solution is? Good question. Number one, I don't think it's a problem. I think number one, Michael Bailey was on the President's Cruise. I think some people might have been chirping in his ear about the issue that I don't think is quite as bad as people think it is, but that's not, forget that for a second. What would I do? There's only two things you can do. And I'm going to give credit to Mr. Don Goldstein, who may or may not be in the chat because this is his idea. And I think he's right about this. You can either expand the space, which I don't think they're going to do that because they're not going to, we just talked about all the cost cutting things. I don't see them physically being like, you know what? We're going to give a new Diamond Lounge the size of like, music hall or a theater to Diamond members. I just don't think that's the case because most of the day it's dead in the Diamond Lounge. It's only busy from like 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. or so. And in the morning there can be a bit of a line for the coffee machine, but otherwise it's pretty empty in there. The other solution is to get rid of the Diamond Lounge completely and be like, you know what? There's no overcrowding anymore if you don't have a Diamond Lounge to crowd into. I don't think that's a bad look for them. I think a crowded Diamond Lounge, I think is better than a uncrowded Diamond Lounge. So, and by the way, I am. I say these comments as a Pinnacle member. I just got this in the mail today, but just not that a Pinnacle opinion means anything more than anybody else's opinion. But I thought I'd throw that out there. You all think before you all think that I'm not. I don't have skin in the game, so to speak. Any guess or theory as to what Royal Caribbean might do to replace Maui port for repositioning cruises on Quantum and Ovation? Ovation, unfortunately, got the bum end of the deal there. Ovation's going to Seattle and the other port in Canada. What's it called? Victoria. Listen, the situation in Hawaii is a terrible situation. But the reality is you can't just bring a cruise ship anywhere else, especially a ship the size of Ovation. And it looks like they're not going to be able to do more than just simply sail along the coast. I believe I saw an update today that guests now have the option of canceling, but they're not going to be able to. One of the biggest misconceptions I think about cruising in general, again, not to make excuses for Royal Caribbean, but given the last minute nature of this, there's only so many places you can bring a ship, and there's only so many slots that you have to bring a cruise ship. And this isn't like the Target parking lot in which you can just go park somewhere else. There's limitations to where a ship can go and how it can get there. And not only are there other ships within Royal Caribbean trying to get in, but also other lines. And these slots, by the way, to dock or tender, what have you, they're booked up years in advance. And there's, as you all know, Hawaii is in middle of the Pacific. There's not really a lot around out there otherwise. So it's unfortunately a bad situation, a terrible situation in Maui, compounding people's vacations. And I understand it. Listen, I would be upset if I booked a Hawaii cruise and wasn't actually going to Hawaii. But it sounds like they can cancel now on Ovation. So maybe they're okay to change their plans there. My 10th cruise is in 83 days on Harmony. It will be my first time on Harmony. What should I not miss? What is a must do? I probably heard me say this before, but the shows, I mean, really, Columbus the musical, because, everyone looks at the Broadway show, Grease. It's like, hey, cool. But Columbus the musical is vastly underrated. Check that out. Especially dining on an Oasis class is always going to love the hibachi on there. That is absolutely worth doing. I'm trying to think of anything else besides. I always tell people the shows because it really is like the main draw there. One more thing on Harmony for sail away. Instead of going to the front of the ship or the side where everybody is, go to the back by the Ultimate Abyss You can get some nice views out there. There's some Adirondack chairs. It's really cool. Pros, cons for reposition sailings. The pros of reposition sailing are it's usually pretty cheap. Like per night, some of the best deals out there. Number two, it's depending on your perspective, you may see there's less kids on board, which it doesn't bother. Kids on board a cruise ship do not bother me. I've been far more annoyed by annoying adults than by kids, but there'll be less kids on there if that matters to you. Number three, you get to really know the crew on board. You get to really know the ship on board. Like you get a lot of time to really enjoy the ship. And if you love sea days, it's fantastic. The cons for repositioning cruises are a lot of sea days. So if you get stir crazy, cabin fever, that can be a problem. And of course, the logistics. You're starting in one place, you're ending in another place. So flights are probably going to be more expensive, problematic, difficult, whatever the word is you want to use to find it there. 144 days till 9 nights on Grandeur. I've only sailed Oasis. Is it going to be a shock? Yeah, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. Here's the thing, Derek. It would be a shock if you did no research, showed up, and assumed the experience would be exactly the same. I think you know, based on the fact that you're here, that Grandeur is the oldest, smallest ship in the fleet. And Oasis class is among the biggest, newest ships in the fleet. So it's going to be different. If you're okay with the ship not having all the bells and whistles, no, I don't think it'll be a shock. It's only going to be a shock if you have no clue about the differences on there, which is actually, I'm chuckling, but that is actually one of the major mistakes people make when they book a cruise is they don't know the differences. I think if you're in my chat, I'm going to go on record. I'm going to go on the limb here, rather, and say that you probably know the differences. But that's the most important thing. Understanding what the ship has and what it doesn't have, right? So it doesn't have all the whiz-bang features and amazing things you can find in the Oasis class. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's different. You might have a great time just taking it easy, relaxing by the pool. Probably spent a lot less money on that cruise than you did on the Oasis cruise. So yeah. Any word when a new area will open in Cook Key? I don't have a date. My understanding is either very late in December or early January, but JC, I really have no idea. It'll be ready in time for the inaugural Icon sailing. That is the best answer I can give you. But I don't know this, I think it will be open before, whether it's a day or a week or a month, I don't know. But I think it'll be open before Icon's first sailing there. Best time to go on an Alaska cruise, May or June. It's cheaper, it's less crowded because school's still in session, and the weather is great. It may be a little chilly. It's gonna be chilly no matter what in Alaska, but it's not as rainy. Like in July and afterwards, you get a lot more rain. May and June tend to be fairly dry, which I think is important. So I'd rather be cold than cold and wet. So it's cheaper, May and June, and it's less wet and it's less busy. There's not as many people up there. So I love it. What are you most excited to experience on Icon? Ooh. I'm going to say number one, definitely the Aqua Dome and an Aqua Theater show. I love the Aqua Theater indoors. I saw a very brief preview when I was there in Finland and it looked amazing. I think that's going to be a big thing. Really, really cool. And the Hideaway, like the Hideaway neighborhood looks amazing. Like that is my speed right there. I would love to go over there and hang out. So yeah. What are your thoughts on my time dining? Can I be honest with everybody? Is that okay? Because I'm gonna offend some people here. I'm gonna be real with all of you. So as long as you're okay, we're getting some real talk and understand that the comment I'm about to make may bother you, but it's not aimed at you personally. I have no problem with people who do this. I think my time dining is a mistake. To book. I think it's frustrating. It claims to solve a problem but creates many more. I think the logistics of trying to make my time dining work make it a mistake to book. I don't want to eat dinner. I think 5 o'clock dinner is too early, and I think 8 o'clock dinner is way too late. But you know what? It works a lot easier than my time. So I will say this. Now that you asked me, I think it's a mistake. I would never book my time dining on my own. That's my thoughts on it. Some people love it. More power to you. I just see it as a creating a problem that doesn't need to be there. Until our next live broadcast, which is gonna be next Monday right here on YouTube. Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe out there. Do something fun, and we'll talk very soon right here on YouTube. Bye, everybody.